Hey everyone, welcome back to our next episode in our Qualt Q&A video conversation series. Today we're going to go across the pond. We're going to talk to one of our great partners at Fountain in the UK, specifically about how do you really approach successful full funnel optimization. And to help us unpack that topic, we're going to be talking to David Cooper, who's a marketing manager over at Fountain. And I'll toss it over to David to say hello.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Jenny. And hi, I'm David Cooper. I'm the marketing manager at Fountain, a digital marketing agency and consultancy. My background is in digital marketing with experience both in-house coordinating all marketing activity for B2C company and an agency here at Fountain, obviously, where I've had the opportunity to devise marketing strategies for companies as big as Gartner, as well as delivering them for many other businesses as well, including ourselves.
Love it. Excellent. And just to start us off on this topic, I think it would be wonderful if you could talk for a minute about really how you and the team define the marketing funnel.
Absolutely. So I was going to use a bit of an odd comparison here, but bear with me. I promise it does make sense. And this is with the producer, director, and screenwriter J.J. Abrams. Whether you love him or hate him, I know he can be divisive. But he has a system of storytelling that is a great example of a marketing funnel. And what I'm talking about is his mystery box system, whereby each scene creates a mystery, sets something up that we want to find out. So we keep watching to find out what that is. And then the next scene answers that. We open the box and there's the answer, but oh, there's another box inside. And this just keeps happening. There's another box inside that and inside that until the big reveal at the end. And a marketing funnel is just this. It's a system of getting your audience to stay engaged right up until the end, until they buy. Everyone watching this can hopefully identify what this looks like for their own business and through recognizing what different activity works at each stage of their own funnel. So top of funnel activity, selling in the middle of funnel, selling in the bottom of funnel, selling in the product ultimately at the end. So some people call this the customer journey, but it's the same thing.
I love that, the mystery box. I follow theater a lot, and anytime you can link something back to movies, that's sticky. So that's great. I'll never forget that. So, thinking about that, unpacking the next box every step along the way, what does success really look like for full funnel optimization?
Well, hopefully a lot of empty boxes scattered around the place, and then a lot of smiles as people get the answers. But ultimately, kind of what he's doing there is creating a problem. He's identifying here's a problem, and we really want the answer to it. And the answer is within the box, as I kind of talked about. And it's this system of creating a series of problems and solutions to them that kind of sets up the funnel, and whatever it may be, until we've watched every season of Lost or bought a toy ambulance we were just talking about before this. But a successfully optimized funnel makes sure it does just this. So top of funnel activity needs to answer a question that your audience has, whilst posing a new problem that they now want the answer to. And then the audience can go away, think about it for a bit, and come back. And then the middle of the funnel then needs to answer that newly posed problem, whilst posing another one. Or the idea is kind of to identify areas that your customers might be interested in. And in the bottom of the funnel is ultimately to answer whatever that final problem is with the product you're selling, leading them to buy that product. I guess what I kind of mean by posing an answer and answering these problems is by creating content that offers genuine value that actually helps your audience. There's so much content out there, and a lot of it just kind of goes right over our heads, and because there's so much of it. But you need to really stand up at being that someone that says, here, this is actually going to be useful to you. You can use it right now. So, ultimately in actual practice, looks like an ad, not leading someone to necessarily a page that's trying to get someone to buy, but a page that gives them a free bit of advice or a bit of guidance and to help them in some respect, some area related to what you're selling, then only once you've done this several times and they've built up trust in you, and by proving, you've proven yourself that you offer them genuine value, and can you then sell in the product? The final mystery is answer. And really seeing if this is successful, the best way to do this is looking at conversion rates at different stages. The better your ads and the content are at solving problems, the higher conversion rates will be. So more people move from the top to the bottom and ultimately purchase.
And then we need bigger boxes. I love it.
Exactly.
That's one of the more refreshing perspectives I've heard on that topic in a really long time. That's a great way to think about it and unpack it. When we think about, how do you really, knowing that you're looking for all of those moments that matter, how do you identify those growth opportunities at every stage of the marketing funnel?
Well, I think like all areas of marketing, you need to use data. Gut feeling about what might or might not work is no longer good enough, because data can show you exactly what is and exactly what isn't working. In this case, a good segment of data to use is what I just mentioned, conversion rate. So this can tell you what stages of your funnel aren't and which are working. If you have a 10% conversion rate from the top of your funnel to the middle of your funnel, but then a 0.1% conversion rate from the middle to the bottom, then it's the middle of the funnel that really has a problem there. And that's the thing that needs optimizing and needs improving on, and where you're going to see the biggest returns. I think one thing to be really clear about here is the sheer amount of return that you can get from this kind of observation. Because if your conversion rate is 1%, if you increase that to just 2%, that may not seem that much at all, but that is a 100% increase. That is astonishing. That's doubling your sales, which is really, really makes a big difference to your business. So if you are correctly identified, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, what activity is occurring at which stage of the funnel, then you can better identify which specific ads, campaigns, whatever activity it may be, actually needs to be improved on. And ultimately, it's about using data to be outcomes focused, not activities focused. Loads of the agencies I worked with when I was in-house were very activities focused, and unfortunately, it meant that we just churned through agencies, and it led me to actually join the industry and actually seek change and improvement, which was what Fountain had to offer as well. But so you're not looking at those, does the ad look cool? Does it hit a massive audience? And do the ads look good? It's about looking at, okay, what is it genuinely generating?
Yeah, I think we've heard that sentiment reflected more and more on this side of the pandemic as well. It's not just about checking the box and doing the activity, but it's about the meaningful, impact of that. So kind of taking that a step further, you are helping clients really ensure their entire funnel is working better. But how do you make sure that it's not just working harder on improving individual metrics, but really changing mindsets and behaviors and conversion potential? And ultimately, how do you help that drive toward a change in their business?
Well, I've talked about marketing tactics used to hit specific marketing goals, and using conversion rates, using big data, outcomes focused, what ads to offer. But the big question people need to be asking is, and it sounds silly, what is the point of all this? I know it sounds really basic, but what's the point of marketing? And this is kind of what we mean by being outcomes focused. Don't just look at the single campaign you're working on, but what is the outcome of all of your campaigns? What is the outcome of all your marketing activity? What is the outcome of all of the company and business activity? Ultimately, it's probably going to be profit for your company. That's speaking quite generally, but the point is to look more at your company's business goals. Those are the goals that all activity, whether it's marketing, operations, or sales, are going to be working towards, or should be working towards anyway. And if your marketing activity is not working to these goals, then you need to ask, why are you doing the things that you're doing? I think one thing that really does speak to this is that a lot of companies don't have CMOs, chief marketing officers, but will have people of that kind of rank or seniority for the other departments. And I think that historically, it's probably because there has been this disconnect between marketing and the business goals. So to make sure that that the marketing aspect of the funnel is working properly, we need to figure out where it fits into the rest of the funnel and the wider business strategy. And this will involve talks with boards of directors, sales teams, CRM teams, as well as other agencies involved as well. So, for example, one thing that we do a lot of is try and talk as much as we can with our client sales teams, ask what makes a quality lead and how many quality leads that they got from whatever with last campaign that was done, and then if it's not a lot, then we need to ask, why was this? If a campaign generates 1,000 leads but not one of them was good quality or turned into a sale, there's a problem. So that kind of information then leads to increased conversion rates across all areas of the funnel, not just marketing, such as sales and customer retention.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've got data on both sides, and that's honestly what we found so much alignment working with your team on, is the value and qualitative insights to understand, what are we doing this for? I think you put that really beautifully. So yeah, it's where that qual and quant understanding really come together. So there's a magic to this when it's done well, and I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about what's the consistent methodology that teams can really use to help ensure they hit their targets.
Sure. Well, I think to be honest, it's more about the type of methodology and the consistency. If you're consistent with a methodology that doesn't work, it won't help ensure that you're hitting your targets. It will ensure that you don't hit your targets. And so you need to make sure that you've got a decent methodology before maintaining consistency. I believe that the best way to do this, and the way that we do it at Fountain, is through testing. I can't say that there's one ultimate silver bullet marketing method to rule them all. It's going to be different for each sector, each platform, each company. What people need to do is to find out what that is for them specifically. And the way to do that is test different things, see what works, what doesn't, and invest more in what does work and improve things that don't. So, a real world example might be ads and landing pages. If you're split testing certain ads, and then you see ad A work better than ad B, then go with ad A, but then alter B and test the new alteration, and maybe that will work better. So then you alter A and test that again, and just keep doing that forevermore and evermore until the end of eternity. Like, you can always keep testing stuff. It sounds kind of daunting when you say it like that, when there's almost no end, but that's kind of the idea, is that you can always keep improving, and it's going to get you more and more profit. And so I guess that the consistent methodology is kind of inconsistency. It's testing, which I'm sure there's some irony to, but it's testing all the time.
Well, I think there's consistency in testing constantly. There's definitely a root in that. So that makes sense. When you take that, and apply, like, is testing the piece that really, in your mind, takes the risk out of marketing and helps really continually close that gap between what you predict will happen and then what actually does? Or is there something else to that?
There's I think this really is a big question. We need a big mystery box for this one. So I'll do what I can to answer concisely, but I think it is a combination of a load of the things that I've talked about today, kind of all working in conjunction with each other, and continually testing all of these things to improve on them. And so I think the first stage is then identifying what those goals are, as mentioned, not just the marketing goals, but the company goals. Then from that, we create a forecast. That's actually something I haven't talked about today, but that's the kind of base of where we start, we make sure that we use all kinds of tools, our own expertise, previous experience, previous results, to come up with a forecast for everyone that we get to that stage with. And if it looks good, we say, fantastic, great, here's what we're going to aim for. And if not, we'll be honest. We'll say, look, actually, here's what we can do. But we actually end up turning away about 64% of people who engage us because the numbers don't add up. And, we want to be honest and ethical in our approach as well. So we want to make sure that when we do work with someone, we can actually make a difference. So if we do go for it, if they're happy with that, then before we even turn on any campaigns, there's another step, which is to make sure we have rigid tracking and measurement in place so we can then be outcomes focused. It means that we can identify exactly which ads generate which sales leads, traffic, and then we turn the campaigns on, and throughout their life cycle, we continue to test and continue to optimize. We make sure that we talk with people to understand what's happening at other stages of the funnel, so we can optimize the entirety of the sales marketing funnel as much as possible. All of this working to generate profit for our clients, or whatever that final end goal may be. That usually boils down to profit, as I mentioned.
Yeah, that's data driven at a next level, to turn away those where the numbers don't make sense, where the formula doesn't make sense. So thinking about really bringing all of this together, how do you just summarize making every touch point perform so that the funnel really delivers results that are greater than just the sum of its parts?
Well, I think there is a way to say it very simply, and before I say that, I'm going to keep people waiting. I'm going to not open that mystery box just yet. I'm going to say that this is proven. Like, it's absolutely been proven. Before I worked at Fountain, Fountain had won 3 Google Premier Partner Awards, one being a global one. And this was the methodology that got those results, on top of being nominated for countless others. But I think it's going back to that mystery box, J.J. Abrams' mystery box. Focus on answering the problems that your audience has, then teeing them up for the next one. It's all about, and here it is, selling in the next step. I think that's it, offering genuine value to your audience that sells in the next step, but gives them that value. So I'm not going to muddy the waters by saying any more or making things complicated, and because that's all there is to it. So I'm going to end on that final takeaway of selling in the next step.
I love it. Yeah. Now I'm compelled to go rewatch Star Wars and Lost and think about unpacking the mystery box in a completely different way. That's great. Well, David, thank you so much. This was a treat. Great perspective. Really appreciate, how you all think about the full funnel start to finish. And certainly I think a lot of takeaways in this that folks can remember. And it really just distills and simplifies a relatively complex and sometimes overwhelming product of how do you think about this full funnel into something that's a lot more digestible and easy to remember. So thank you so much. This was great.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me, Jenny. And I hope I've offered value to people that they can actually implement. I've done my bit in our funnel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.